Welcome to In-Sanity, Bob. It's nice to get you on. You've been a
Love
big
it.
influence in my life over the last, God, what, decade or so now, I think it is. Getting
Yes,
close to
so
that.
yeah,
And you've been the monster that I need on various occasions over the last
yeah,
few years. So
yeah,
I
yeah.
thought it'd be nice to get you on early on in this podcast and have a chat about your work and what you do.
Okay,
So for
okay.
anyone that doesn't know you, do you want to give us a little bit of background?
Mm. So I got involved in well, we'll go back as far as the hypnosis kicks off. Yeah, so that would be 1973. Playing with a band. The drummer looks at a woman who's a manager of a hotel and tells her not to look into my eyes because I'm a hypnotist. She, of course, turns and looks into my eyes. I heard the drummer, so I told her to sleep. I catch her head before it hits the ground. The band are terrified. They don't know I'm a hypnotist. I'm really terrified because I never knew I was a hypnotist. So it made me think maybe I should look at some of this stuff. I had hypnosis in my family through my uncles from my father's side and stuff like that. And people that, what we would say from Foggy Lawn, Abershire, the Buchan area, we'd call them ill cricket. They were always up to stuff. So they had lots of things, and hypnosis would have been one of them. My uncles could hypnotize anybody in the world in 5 seconds. That's a claim made by most, but they couldn't. But all my uncles could do that. Of course, they would do that by patting them on the shoulder, telling them they look great, then pinching them right here and stopping the oxygen from going to the brain. And they'd go into what they called hypnosis. But what in reality was 1 to 3 years in the penitentiary if you got caught. So I thought I should probably learn real hypnosis.
Yeah, I believe that technique is in Armin McGill's stage
I
hypnosis.
can't imagine Miguel putting that in a book. The only person I know would be crazy enough to do that would be me. So I've never read that from anyone ever.
I've come across it somewhere and like, do not ever use this. It's a warning on
Well,
it,
it's,
but
it's
just
very similar. It's very similar. If you see the shape of my arm there, it's very similar to the choke, is it?
yeah,
Uh, Stopping this and stopping that, stopping the blood from carrying the oxygen. And of course, even that is really, really dangerous. I mean, human beings, I mean, I was never in the forces, but I was a butcher. And I think I'm more dangerous as a butcher than anybody who's been in the forces. I mean, I know how easy it is to kill an earthling. It's just so easy.
yeah,
And we mustn't even talk about that. So no, so let's put that aside. So, but we're fragile. We're fragile little things. We really are. So from there, me doing that, I was also involved in healing. We'll maybe come back to that in a second.
yeah,
But I decided to go and do degrees in psychology and sociology and philosophy and stuff like that. And I became a trainee psychologist. But I moved on to other things. I ended up doing stage hypnosis and traveling Europe a bit and stuff like that. But because I was involved with the healing side, from the spiritual side, I blended that with the hypnosis. Didn't want to do that, of course, because healing is healing and hypnosis is hypnosis, and the two, it's difficult to blend the two together. And I'm not sure if you want to do that for most people anyway. But
yeah,
but there it is. It's a very scattered nutshell. It really is. It's a difficult one to
yeah.
get.
Because you had a history with sort of working with magic and things like that as well, didn't you?
Yeah, I worked as a professional magician for many years, and then again as a mentalist, as you know. So that's, and of course I'm a musician, so I always did stuff that was in the public eye, and we used to play tricks with the band where I'd be going around the tables doing comedy magic for a couple of hours and hypnotizing people, and then the band's ready to start, but the singer hasn't turned up, and they'd be asking if there's any singers, and we'd wait, and somebody would shout, "Get a magician!" So they think it was funny, but what they never realised was the magician was the singer. So
Excellent.
well, we used to have a lot of fun with that. It was great for me as well because I got more money than all the rest of the band members because I got a double gig. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So with the hypnosis stuff, when you're talking about sort of doing the spiritual healing alongside hypnosis, are you talking about the idea of never waste a good trance, or is this beyond that?
No, no, no. That's a different thing where you don't. A lot of the old style hypnotists would not hypnotize without doing something positive at the same time. Sure, I'll hypnotize him. Sure, this guy's going to get an orgasm. Sure, I'm going to let him think I'm his wife and we're a Swedish couple. Sure, we can have a bit of fun if everyone's up for it. But I also want to know, do you have any problems? Is there any challenges? His aches and pains. So that's where the term "never waste a good trance" comes from. But sometimes we get a healer, a spiritual healer. I remember once I'm speaking, obviously won't mention the name, but he wasn't the best of healers, let's say. But he was learning hypnosis, and he was doing healings in a spiritualist church, but he was using hypnosis, and it never felt right to me, although it can be done, but providing the sitter, that's what they're called, the sitter knows what's happening at all times, then it's kind of okay. But it's a funny one. And sometimes hypnosis will work better than the healing, for heaven's sake. Of course it will. So,
And that sort of leads me on to something else, which is the idea of like using magic and trickery in session with clients. Because I know you do some fun stuff in your consultation, and like after training with you up in Montrose there and doing the consultation, the wall, I think it's a wonderful piece for anyone to, like, if they get a chance to train with you, to come and train with you for this, just because of some of the stuff you do and the questions that they have in their mind and the answers you give them and so forth. So,
well, that will probably never happen again, because I'm kind of going to some kind of retirement, and I don't think I'll be doing the individual consultations again. But other people can, including you.
Yep.
But I think that's my days are over with that. As far as the magic-y with patients goes, it was never, as you know, sold as magic-y tricks. During the lunch break, that's great. I'll go into a bar and I'll have some fun with people, do some stuff, and I'll use them to get icebreakers, to talk to them about hypnosis, and I'll make appointments to do hypnosis. But in the therapy room itself, for people come in, I wouldn't do so much magic, but I would do icebreakers to make them feel relaxed. So there's a difference. Yeah, there's a difference, and you must not make the icebreakers too magic-y.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of magicians, for example, don't like mentalists, because the mentalists, they're not doing mentalism, they're doing a magic trick. It's not so much now. It was really bad about 20 years ago. But even then, I can think of really good magic-y friends of mine whose fathers were magicians. They are now full-time professional mentalists, and they hate magic. Again, I should be careful not to name them, so I won't do that. But it's an interesting one, isn't it?
Yeah, I know a few of those as well myself. I think from looking and watching you train other people in some of the workshops that I've been alongside you with, like, you have people in stitches all the time with some of the stuff you do. And I wonder if you think that's an important aspect of how you get your success in the therapy room and in the training room.
Yeah, well, that's I've always used that. As you know, I used to do stand-up. Mm-hmm. So I've always used humour with everything I do. Right now I'm playing with a band called the Bobettes. And the band are great because in between numbers, for example, we did a gig last Saturday. We had enough numbers to do 1 hour. We ended up doing 1 hour 45. And that's because the 45 minutes of laughing in between, having the crack, as we call it, with the audiences. But that's the same with everything, I think. Humour is really, really important. So when I did the magic, for example, I could work easily with 5 or 6 of the top magicians in the world, doing a 6-man team for a corporate gig, So we're all doing tables. Let's say there's maybe, I don't know, there could be 15 tables each, 90 tables for 6 magicians. That would be right, I suppose, to do over the next couple hours. So you've got that much each. So I would not be as good as some of them. I'm pretty good. I can do the chops, but not as good as a world champion. They're fantastic. So I would use a lot of humour. In fact, you know my thing with the blue glove, for example. Well, magicians love that. They'd all come to you and say, "Where the hell did you get the idea for a card to vanish? Somebody to be bent over a table that you don't know. It's a top director from a company, and now you're asking him to pull his trousers down as behind his back you slide on this massive vet's glove, which can only have one meaning." When I turn around and say, and I'm going to discover your card in a way that's never been done before. I don't even get before out. So the table start laughing. The guys wonder, what's going on? He turns around, sees me with a vet's glove. That's a photograph moment. Yeah, everyone's taking photographs of that. So There's no magic involved in that whatsoever. Well, there is actually, as it happens. His card is down my sock or whatever.
Yeah.
I've done something else. But so humour was always important to me to do stuff like that. And indeed, as you know, with a lot of the therapy I'll use, I'll have a bit of fun with the clients when they come in.
Yeah. I mean, if you can't make it fun, then what's the point? I think.
Well, listen, just before I settled with you, I saw a client who is his stage 4 cancer. We talked about that this afternoon. You and I, you knew I was seeing her. She's got stage 4 cancer. I don't know the woman. We've never talked before. But as I took a buck out of it at the end of about an hour, and I says, nice deep breath, 1, 2, 3, and open your eyes, and you find yourself fully clothed, just like before. Now, I'm going to suggest to you that's not a thing that most therapists should use. No. That kind of language, yeah.
You get away with it, and
yeah. And the more you do it, you develop a style to ensure you'll get away with stuff like that. I've used that forever, and everybody just falls about laughing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so again, it's what you can get away with. And apart from that, I like to laugh. You know, it's a lot of it is for me. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And like one of the things that I know you've talked about before is a good magician knows what's it 7 tricks really well, or something along those lines. Do you think that's true about a good hypnotist as well?
Yeah. Well, the whole idea was that an amateur knows 100 tricks, but a top professional knows 6.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't need that. And hypnosis is an interesting one. I heard Anthony talking once, Anthony Jacquin. And he was asked about different things, ways to hypnotize people. And he said, well, you know, there's maybe, I can't remember what he said, maybe 12, 15 ways. He said, but I only use one. Mm-hmm. And what he was saying was that a lot of people think the hypnotist needs to find many ways to hypnotize the different clients that only work that way. Mm-hmm. But he was suggesting to them, I'm that good that I get them all to come my way. He worded it better than that, in all fairness to him. I'm paraphrasing. Yeah. But yeah, I get that. And I thought, well, that is absolutely me. I can tell you now, I don't mind who listens to this. I don't mind who hears it. I tell my clients before we even start, I'm a pretty good hypnotist, but I sometimes we're chatting and I'll say, okay, so in a second we'll do the hypnosis, but and I'll check my watch. No, you know I'm scripted, yeah, and I'm not checking my watch at all. But I'll do the bit. I'll go, oh, buddy, look at this. We've been talking for 38 minutes. It's nearly 40 minutes we've been chatting for. You could be excused right now by thinking, I wonder if he's going to start. Well, you need to know that I started 40 minutes ago. Is that okay? And they look at me and they smile and they go, oh yeah. Yeah, and they're right to go, oh yeah, because I want that part within their subconscious to go, he hasn't been talking to you, you idiot, he's been talking to me. And that's a bit true as well, yeah. No, but all of that means that in 5 minutes time I'll just allow them to slip into hypnosis. I won't need to hypnotize them. I'll say in a second, like, ask you to sit back, and I'll even shrug my shoulders, make an open-handed gesture and say, I don't see why we need to do any induction now, do you? You're probably hypnotized right now. You just don't know it yet. So, for example, just take a sit back, take a nice deep breath, and just allow yourself to go. That's it. That's the induction, and I can use it anywhere at all now. But why would that be important? Well, it's important also because many of the top hypnotists, the top hypnotherapists, do not believe that we need hypnosis. I agree with them.
Yeah,
it's just our findings, isn't it? We've found that to be the case.
Yeah, there's a quote that I saw. I think it was a chap talking about. I think he was from the Erickson Institute or something like that. And he was talking about the first time he met Milton Erickson. And he walked into the room and Erickson nodded at a chair and carried on reading his book or his paper or something like that. And the guy was like, I've never been said hello to in that way before. And it was only years later I realized that was the moment I entered hypnosis.
Yeah.
And it seemed to me that this was like, okay, this is something different. This is something new. And you get that with you as well. As soon as you start talking to you, as soon as you start, this length and breadth of your knowledge that.
Well, there's 2 things there that come to mind. I'm going to hold this up in the air like that. Is that okay?
Yes.
Because we've already had discussions over the last few months now. And I've told you that I'm getting old now. And I get a really brilliant idea, the best idea in the world. Unfortunately, it only lasts 15 seconds. So by the time I get around to talking about this, it'll be gone. So I'm going to try and maybe do something from it. But I did a thing, and this is Erickson, okay? This is the Erickson thought. So you remind me. There's something about Erickson. So here we go. I don't know if you were there, the talk I did, not last year, but the year before at London, about that time I did the hypnosis with a girl for the first time. I don't know if you were in the room. Her name was Liz. And the full story of that, just to go back to what I said a couple of minutes ago, because it is important. The guy that told her, don't look into his eyes, he's a hypnotist. She looks into my eyes. I tell her to sleep. I clutch her head. But as I said to the audience at the end of it, here's the question, though. Who hypnotized Liz? Was it me, the hypnotist? Or was it the drummer who suggested to her, if she looked into my eyes, she'd go into hypnosis? Or was it Liz who accepted the suggestion? And I was thrilled with my audience. They were a highly experienced audience because nearly everybody apart from two said, we think it's Liz. And I agree with them. It was the girl who accepted the suggestion and went into hypnosis. So it's a biggie, that, is it? And that's kind of linked to that Ericksonian thing. But here's my story of Erickson. Oh, I did it all myself. Wonderful is that? I don't know if you know this story. It's well documented. And I thought, because Rowan, and you do this as well, we get to hear things like other people get to hear them. They become their stories. But you and I, we go and do this shit, do we? We go, ooh, I wonder if that would work. Let's find out. And we don't mind losing, do we? We want to do it, and we'll come back with it worked for me or it never worked for me. Yeah. So here's the story, first of all. And even if you know it, unfortunately, you won't be able to stop me because I want the listener to know it. Is that okay, Ryan? So here's the story, guys, for anybody listening. The story has it that Erickson is on a stage, and there's a guy in the back of the room, puts up his hand and says, I don't think I could be hypnotized. And Erickson says, oh, sure, you can't, you don't think you can be hypnotized, maybe you can't, but it would be very difficult for you now to stand up and step into the corridor there. And the guy stands up and he goes into the corridor. He says, well, I did it. He says, yeah, sure, you can stand up into the corridor, but you'd probably find it impossible to walk down to the actual stage here. And the guy walked down to the stage. And Erickson says, sure, you can stand up and you can walk into the corridor and you can walk to the stairs. But as you try and come up the steps, let's see what happens then. And of course, the guy walks up the steps. He's on the stage now with Erickson. And Erickson says, sure, you can stand up. You can walk down the corridor and go up the steps of the stage. But to come over here and stand next to me, you'd find that very, very difficult. And the guy walks up and stands next to Erickson, who does the whole thing again. And you're looking at me, but you can walk out, you can do this. But you would find it very hard to sit down and go into hypnosis. And the guy sits down, and the story has it, he goes into hypnosis. So I heard that story, and I thought, it's a great story. And I know enough about Erickson to know that he was not supposed to be, his own words, not a fantastic hypnotist. And if he's not a fantastic hypnotist, he wouldn't do that unless, I don't know, he's got to nip his neck or he's some squirty stuff or what have you. That's not a way to do. So I go, I've got to try it. So the first chance I got, a couple of months had passed, there was another thing. I was like, everybody here really finds it hard to believe in voices. And I'll tell you what, I was like, the back in the middle said, oh, I'm not really. I said, okay, sure, you find it hard, but how difficult would it be for you to stand up and go into the middle? Try and do that and see what happens. And it worked perfectly. And this is hard then. It's all I could do to keep it going because I've not got a nervous giggle. Yeah, I'm not kafon. I'm going, oh, this is beautiful. And then I thought, the guy will come up all the way here and we'll see what happens. And he came right up to me and I said, sure, you can stand up, you can walk down, you can go around, you can take up 4 steps to come up onto the stage, you can walk up to me, you can tell me all these things. But you'll find it really hard to sit down there and go into hypnosis. And the guy sat down and looked at me and went, well, sometimes it works like that. If you could take your seat back, that'd be... And the audience all laughed, yeah? And I told him the story. I told him why I did it. And that was as valuable as putting the guy into hypnosis. Everybody knows I'm a decent hypnotist. That's going to happen. But what do I know? I know that my ego has been well massaged over 50 years, and I don't need that to happen. And I know that if somebody is not a somnambulist and not in the mood, I will not hypnotize them no matter what I do. Yeah. And neither will anybody else. Now, I know that these other people tell me, but you know what I've done, Robin. You know I've offered anybody £500,000 to prove me wrong. No one has ever phoned. They've never sent flowers. Yeah, they never come knocking on my door. Because I told them, we're not having a go for £500,000. I will film you. And if you're right and you can do all of these things and take away people's pain and it never comes back, we'll make a brilliant movie together. And it'll be free of charge. And you'll get £500,000. Oh, by the way, if you can't do this, that film will still go out to the world about you showing your arse in public. And In fact, a lot of them don't talk to me ever again. Isn't that bizarre?
Yeah. So this leads me on to your SW.
Well, it's lovely, is it? I had this behind every person's head. As they come in to my therapy room, behind them, up high on the wall, would be just a piece of paper with SW, 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 like Southwest, yeah? Just the letters itself. Not even an acronym, because it never made up anything. But here's the thing, no one ever asked me what they were for, ever, not even once, never. Except for people I was training, they maybe heard about me. I remember one guy came all the way from Singapore, and he walked in, and he looked up and he started giggling. He thought, "Oh my God, it's true!" Yeah, because he never believed that this happened here. Anyway, it simply means some will, some won't, so what? And it's got nothing to do with the clients. It's got everything to do with me. It's like every now and again, I'm going to get somebody sitting in the chair, and I'm not going to be able to hypnotise them. But I'll tell you what, they come in at 2:00. It's now 2:45, and I've got somebody else coming in 50 minutes time, and I need to be on my best behaviour with them. I need to be on song. I need to be sharp. So I cannot let this have an effect on me. So for me, and for my motivation for the client is going to be coming in now 14 minutes time, because time's running out. I need to tell myself and remind myself that some will, some won't. So what? I've got somebody else at 3:00. So buck up, Burns. Do your job. And it did well for me. It always held me well. And I never got too cocky. And I never told stories about, oh yeah, I hypnotised nearly everybody. If there's any hypnotists out there and you're saying things like that, shut up. Just shut up. Nobody will tell you, but I'm telling you now, you're looking dumb. Just dumb. Don't keep it. Get away.
No, it was a game changer for me when you told me that. It really let me let go of those ones that just don't. For me, anyway. Maybe someone else will be able to work with them better than I could, but there was always that.
No, if I can't, it doesn't matter whether I can hypnotise them or not. I can steal their watch, as you know. I don't have a problem taking a watch. Only the cheeky ones. Yeah.
Yeah. So you mentioned before that you're scripted. This comes up quite a lot with especially new hypnotists being told by more experienced hypnotists that you shouldn't use scripts.
Yeah.
So do you want to talk a wee bit on that?
Yeah, well, these new guys are good guys. They're not bad guys. They're good guys. And their wording on it, where they're coming from, is 100% correct. And they're worried about these people that use scripts for everything. We've got the name for them from over 20 years ago, 30 years ago, was relaxotherapists. We used to get warned about, don't go with relaxotherapists. They're not real hypnotists. They just relax you, take you for a walk through a wood and down by a beach and so on and so forth. And by the way, I need to say very quickly, and again, when you know my thoughts on this, some of these relaxotherapists, if that's what you want to call them, are brilliant. They get results as good as I do. I've seen it. I've witnessed it. They're just wonderful. But that's not my way. I don't want to be. I don't want to go and no, the sun's shining and you see the feather blowing in the. I just don't want to do that. I did in the early days because I didn't know anything else to do. Now I'm a hypnotist, so I don't want to and I don't need to do that. Yeah. However, I'm having one of these moments again where I just can't see the fella. It's a mentalist, a magician. He died some years ago. Old guy with a big white beard. If anybody gets this and wants to contact me, let me know. That'd be great. I'm nearly there, but it's not quite coming. Anyway, he said something some time ago that there's only two people. It's a hypnotist and a magician that has to hide their work while they're doing it. Mm-hmm. So a singer gets to sing and show off. Guitarist gets to hit his notes. A dancer gets to dance, but a hypnotist and a magician must hide their best work at the point of doing it. And that's how modest the top people are. They're actually modest about it. And that's absolutely true. That's the way they've got to work. So with this thing about the script again, they think that people learn scripts because they don't know what they're doing. And that's how it was at the beginning. I was a hypnoanalyst because I studied psychology, and I had to get every word absolutely right. I don't know what I did to other people, but I bored myself shitless. It was I hated me. It was just dreadful. So I thought I need to know what I'm saying. But on the initial consultation, I felt it was important that I get every single thing correct. Every single thing. So it's an initial consultation. I've never seen them before. So as you know, Rowan, I am not scripted at all in seeing my clients.
No.
But on the initial consultation, I am 100% scripted. Now, I know a lot of people would say, a script, spot one a mile away. Well, not when I'm doing it, you want. You'll have no idea that I'm being totally scripted with every sniff, cough, open-handed gesture. Everything is for a reason. And now when I scribble, I'm writing down what they did to that reason. When I ask them if they can see a white horse, or if they can hear music, or if they can feel my hand on their shoulder, or they can smell the roses, or they can taste the curry, all that is for a reason, to let me know how I'm going to talk to them within the next 10 minutes. They've got to tell me whether they're clairvoyant, clairaudient, clairsentient, have olfactory skills, or gustatorial skills, and I cannot forget that because I'm scripted. Here's the way it works. You already know what I'm doing here, but just for the person watching this, if I was to say to you right now, Rowan, give me any number between 1 and 10,000. Give it to me now.
745.
And the number after that is 746. Indeed. And the reason why I know that is because I'm scripted. Does that make sense? Yeah. So that's what I mean by scripted. I know exactly what I'm going to do next. If somebody was to say to me 10 years later, well, you never actually said that to me, I would say, well, I did. Of course I said 746 because I said 745. And between that and 747, I could not say it. Or somebody will say to me, you did say so-and-so. I was, no, I never. I wouldn't say that. I'm completely scripted on the first one. So it's really important. And then again, for the listener, I'll still be somebody who will listen to what I'm saying now and poo-hoo. I understand that. I get that because I used to be me. But if I could use an analogy, this is the best analogy I know about why you should be scripted on the initial consultation. I'm on a bus. I'm on a train. I'm leaving Aberdeen. I'm going to London. And through there, I'm going to go to Stonehaven, Montrose, Arbroath, Edinburgh, York, Manchester, so on and so forth. If I hit all these stations on time, I can even get off in one of the stations. I can even get off and buy myself a newspaper and come back onto the train. But I've got times to get off, I've got times to get on. If I do everything exactly on time, I will arrive in King's Cross at exactly 7:48 as promised. That to me is a great initial consultation for a hypnotherapist. They'll make no mistakes whatsoever.
Yeah, and I really like the way you've done that, and also, it sort of ties in really nicely with the questions that the client has in their mind when they come to see you for that consultation, and the answers that you're giving them with that standard operating procedure you do.
Well, we're not going to go into this now.
No.
However, my next one is in 6th and 7th of June, and you'd better believe that when I do my next workshop, I'll be going through the 7 main questions that we get asked, and the 7 answers the therapist has to know and must not waffle with. By the way, again, all I get is names in front of me right now. When I talk about some of these guys that say, "Oh, you don't want to follow any scripts whatsoever," and I've seen them do their work. You better believe I've told them to their face, they're shit.
Well, I mean, it's the same. Even if we're using like a utilization induction or something like that, we still have a standard operating procedure. You still have you're utilizing stuff around you in the room, the sounds in the room, the sensations of yourself sitting in the chair, all these sort of things. And then you're moving that awareness to internal stuff and opening up the clear senses. So
you're right. Well, I wrote that down somewhere, didn't I? Standard operational procedure. I called it something else as well, but I can't remember what I called it. Instead of a script, I used a different word. Can you remember what word I used?
I've only got the SOPs, standard operation procedures, is all I've got.
There's another one. Oh, no, here, I'm going to get close to it. So what would happen if I take a map of Australia and put it in a piece of paper and I put a pencil all the way around and I cut it out with a scissor? What would that be called?
A template.
Hey, there we go. Thank you. Well done, Rowan. Love working with you. So there you go. We've got a script. We've got a standard operational procedure. We've got a template. Are these 3 things good? These things are phenomenal. So if you don't like the word, by the way, I've noticed over many years now, people don't like the word script. But if I tell them, use a template, they go, oh yeah. Oh yeah. And what does that mean? Well, that means that Sydney will always be there. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Perth will always be over there in the way. You cannot make a mistake. So a script is a good template for an initial consultation.
It's like if you want to replace your battery on your Mac, you go to iFixit and you look up the instructions of how to take your Mac apart, how to replace the battery. Once you've done that a few times, once you've read that script a few times, yes, you can wing it without reading the script, and you know what you're doing, and you can do a bit more jazz with it.
Yeah. Well, you won't be winging it, will you? Because a good guitarist will tell you that when they're going like that, they're not even thinking. That's called finger memory.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I had you got a guitar right now and I showed you, I don't know, anything at all, I'm going to get it wrong. I'm got to get the F mixed up with the G. But if I shut up and look at you and talk about the note, my fingers will just play it perfectly.
Yeah.
As long as they don't get in the way of my finger memory. Here we go. The script, the soap, anything like that,
Yeah.
will just take care of it.
It's installing muscle memory in that muscle, isn't it? It's like my cutting to cards that I do. If I try and think of where the card is, I'll often get it wrong. But if I just trust my unconscious to get it right, and this is, Eric said, trust your unconscious. 9 times out of 10, it'll be the right card, or I'll be like one off, and it'll be the card on top of the deck instead of the card that I've cut to, or whatever.
Yep.
And there's a huge amount in getting to the level where you can just trust your unconscious to do these things.
Yep, that's true.
I suppose that sort of ties us in nicely to being able to speak directly to your unconscious, which you know a lot about.
Yes. Well, again, we've got this small thing that I think I piss people off with that, I suppose. So the therapist, and certainly the hypnotherapist and the hypnotist, wants to talk about talking with the unconscious or the subconscious. Mm-hmm. I'm not interested in talking to the subconscious. The subconscious for me is a place I go to for a piss up against the wall on my way back from football. It's just a place. That's all it is. Yeah. What I'm really interested is bumping into people while I'm having a piss. I wish I never started with a pissing up against the wall. I don't know where that's going from. I know you're recording this. It's a freaking nightmare, is it? Can you see I'm somebody else? Is that okay?
I can indeed, yeah.
No, but you know what I'm saying? It's a place. Now, and I'm interested in meeting people, entities in that place. Real or imagined, I'm okay. Mm-hmm. Aliens, whatever, past lives, and that's when it gets exciting. So that's what the Swan was all about. And a way to get into something so that a guy can turn around and say, well, actually, I'm me in 1947. I'm his wife in 1938, so on and so forth. I'm an alien. That's okay. I will happily talk to the aliens, real or imagined. And by the way, I'm very comfortable believing they're real. I don't have a problem with anything. I just wanted that part that can turn around to me and say, yeah, I can take that pain away. Yeah, I can make that better. And yes, I'll even get times when I'll say, are you this, are you that? And I'll say, no, I'm his subconscious. So there you go. It was painful the first time it gave me the finger, and I thought, ooh, that's not what I do. But there you go.
Yeah.
But hardly ever will it happen. It will claim to be a part within the subconscious, yeah.
For anyone that doesn't know your work and doesn't know what the Swan is and is wondering what you're doing with this and talking about a swan.
Well, I also do chart up lines, so it could be very similar that as well.
So do you want to tell people a little bit about what the Swan is? And we'll put a link to your training in, is it June?
6th and 7th of June. And so the Swan, very, very quickly, is I'm a Tai Chiist. I'm more a hobbyist Tai Chiist than a fighting Tai Chiist nowadays. I like to do Tai Chi in the mornings. And one Saturday morning, I was down on the beach in Montrose. I came back and sat down in my chair for nearly 10 o'clock. That's when everybody in the UK who likes cooking, there's a cooking program on at 10 o'clock, isn't there? This time it was James Martin. I'm going back a few years now. It was a guy who used to have the band on his head. And what happened is I put my fingers through my hair. I went back to the chair like that, and I was watching the telly, and I happened to just glance like that, and I saw my arm like that. And I'm one of these guys, I speak aloud all the time. I can't stop it, even when I'm doing shopping. And I don't mind. I'm okay. So I looked at my hand and I said, you look a bit like a swan, don't you? And my hand did that. And I thought, how the hell did that happen? I know what an idiot remote response is, but that wasn't it. It didn't feel like that. And I said, do that again, just like that. Let me do it. And it did it again. And I said, can you do anything else? And it went, yes. And I said, can you turn around and face me? And it went, I can't. And I said, can you say hello? And I gave it this kind of wave. And I thought, jeez, what's going on here? And I asked it to go back, and it went back and forward again. So I shouted on my English wife, who's upstairs. Normally at 10 o'clock every Saturday morning, she knows I'm relaxed, and she goes through my pockets to get the change in my pocket from the pub the night before. That's a different thing. And we'll try and edit that out if possible.
Yeah.
Anyway, I got her to come down, And we tried it with her and it never worked. But the good news is this: she knew that I was real. She knew it was genuine. She knows I've got a sense of humor, and it's better than this, doing a wave your hand thing. So she says, why don't you try it in the therapy room on Monday and see what happens? And it just exploded instantly. It exploded. I got answers. They said it could take care of them. It took care of them. And I thought, bloody hell. And then I made a mistake of going online and telling the world. Let's be honest, I was seeking relevance, wasn't I? I was saying, look what I've done. Look what I've created. And only later did I realise I hadn't created it at all, the truth being, but never mind. So we went on to do that, and a guy called Felix Economachus, as you know, Felix, Rowan, psychologist based in London, who called me a cock online. It's a filthy language for a young Greek. And then he said, if you can do that, why don't I get you some flight tickets, come down here, and I'll put a room of psychologists, doctors in a room, and you can show them just how wonderful you are. So I said, well, send the tickets, and the bastard sent the tickets. So I had to go down there. And I was really anxious. I think I've been more anxious than ever because I was way outside my comfort zone. Anyway, we did it, and it was great. They were all sitting there going, fuck. It was a wonderful thing to see. And these were not hypnotists. That was not the world they came from. And during the break, of course, one guy, a doctor from the south of France, says, it never worked too well with me. Could you try it with me? I didn't want to try it with him. I wanted to go and get a cup of tea. But I couldn't say no. I did it with him. And somebody filmed it on their mobile phone. It wasn't great. It was only slight little moves, but it was brilliant. It was meant to be like that. If it was like this, too good, they would have said it's an act. So they could see the guy had nothing to do with it and it was real. They put it online and the whole thing exploded. It really, really exploded. I really couldn't handle it. I couldn't answer the messages. I don't know how they managed to contact me. And then I thought, and then somebody says, why don't you make up a DVD? We did that, and I think it cost me £1,000 to get the guy to do the whole thing. And I think it's either 29 minutes or 32 minutes. It's not long. Yeah. And my English wife says, and how will we get the £1,000 back? And I said, I have no idea. But we got it back by Thursday morning. It moved that fast. We had one of these things you get in the railway stations, these big trolleys. These are just little singular DVDs. There were just tons and tons of them. So I'm back. I mean, I had to make a couple of trips in my car every morning to put them to all these exotic places around the world. And in no time at all, there were more than 80 countries around the world ordering them. And of course, after that, as you know, came what happened next, where they asked me to come to their countries and do lectures, teach it. And my wife and I, for a good part of, I would say maybe 8 full years, we travelled the world. So I'm still a full-time therapist, but I could go to Europe at the weekends and be back by Monday morning. And we probably did 4 long hauls a year, where I'd be away for a month to 5 weeks at a time to the Australias, Japan, South America, so on and so forth. So it was a great world until this freaking COVID thing came along and everything just went boom. But that's okay. We had a good run at that, and I wouldn't want to do that again. So now I've stopped doing therapy. I'm getting on a bit now. I'll be 75 next month. And I still do stuff online, but I try and make it very, very little. I did a session today, as you know, but I'll maybe do 4 or 5 a week, no more than that.
Yeah. And you're back singing again.
Well, there you
You've
go.
gone full circle.
I'm back singing again. It's and I've got my little band, Bob and the Bobettes. If there's anybody watching this giggling, I'm very disappointed in you. We think it's a sexy name, Bob and the Bobettes. And so we're back doing that. Actually, the band were very angry with me, but I refuse not to be called the Bobettes. And it's taken on because people like the name for a bit of fun. And we're getting some really good gigs just now. It will not go any further, of course. We're just a covers band, but we're having fun with it.
As long as you're having fun, we're all going to the same place at the end of the day, so enjoy the journey.
Absolutely.
And with the Swan, we touched a little bit earlier on the sort of spiritual healing and stuff. Do you think there's a crossover there between the Swan and that sort of work?
I think it's a crossover with every single thing. I really do. It's a case of what is a crossover, and do you want the crossover? Do you want to recognise it? Do you want to work with it? We are all doing great, and I think we are all also wasting our time at the same time, because we're all parts of something way, way bigger than all of this stuff. It's highly unimportant, but we seek relevance. And even now, I suppose, my older age. I've no ego. I think I've no ego. I'm probably wrong. I probably still seek relevance in lots of different ways.
There's the aspect of ego that allows us to interface with the universe, doesn't it? So we sort of need an ego to a certain degree, at least anyway, to be able to function in the world. It's just whether that ego's out of control and thinks that we're that, or if it's just an interface. We all suffer from it, though.
I think so. And again, a lot of us now, I mean, I've got no belief in a place called the universe, and it would be impossible for that place to be real. But that's a whole different argument that would go somewhere well. And of course, a lot of the people I argue with, philosophically argue with, will be of a religious nature. And I know that every time I have a discussion like that with them, I will absolutely lose 100%, because you cannot argue against faith. You're totally wasting your time. Totally.
Exactly. So, do you want to touch a little bit more on the spiritual healing side of things? Because that sort of ties in a little bit with what I'm doing with the mesmerism stuff, I think.
I suppose so. Spiritualism, most spiritualism. I look at the 1970s. I've got to be careful how I tell this story, because I don't want to bore anybody, and yet every little bit's of it linked to the next thing, But I'll hammer on if I can. So it's in the 70s, and my mother was being sought after by some spiritualists to come down to their place. And I was very anxious. I loved my mother. I didn't want to near it. So I went down to sort them out. It was a Sunday morning. It was 11:15. And the guy... Bob, who was doing it, was wearing a kilt. And it was one of these things, the platform was maybe 12 inches high, yeah? And we're sitting down. And he's wearing a kilt. Now, there you go. There's a dangerous scenario right there, yeah? Because as he sat down, he did this thing that men do with trousers. You know that little lift-up thing they do with the knees? He did that with the kilt. So for 15, 20 minutes, I'm looking at this man's tadger and his testicles, and it just wasn't right for a spiritual sitting, and I've got other people, and they've now got this giggling happening all over the place. Having said all of that, the guy was fantastic. His reading was wonderful, and then something strange happened. Strange and wonderful, and isn't it great, Rowan? Sometimes, and everybody listening to this will be able to relate to this. Something happens, and you think it's wonderful, and you think, oh my God, because this has happened, this means that it'll get better and better, and there'll be wonderful things happen on from here. And you've missed the point that this is wonderful. This right here, wonderful. And it will hardly ever get better than this. So as you know, I talk about it a lot. I like moments, do I? I love moments. I like to remember moments. This was a moment. So there was a girl sitting in front of me with the ginger hair at the other side of the front, and this guy, Bob White was his name. He turned around and he says to her, I've got a young man standing next to me, and he wants to know why every Sunday morning, early on in the morning, you go down to that place at the bottom of the hill, and you look into that grave, and you just cry and cry and wonder where he is when he stands perfectly by your side. And she started to cry, but I could tell that it wasn't tears of misery, it was tears of wonder. And I remember even then, that early on, thinking to myself, excuse me, listener, thinking, fuck, I've got to get to this, yeah? Whatever this is, I don't think this guy is acting, I don't think this is a magical trick. And the guesstimates would be too much. Just too much. I spoke to her later. That's the first time she'd ever gone in there. She came from somewhere up beside Fraserburgh. So she travelled maybe 47 miles, Fraserburgh to Aberdeen, like a good distance. And that was her first thing ever. It was a friend of hers. If you're ready for this, listener, he was killed by one of these steamrollers. He was flattened into the ground, into the tar. They shuffled him up, yeah? And they put him in a bag. And the bag was put in the coffin was put in the hole. And so she's standing there, and she went there every Sunday morning. She really had a lot of time for this guy. And she used to think, could you be, is there a way you could be alive? And she says, I walk in here, and this guy with the tackle, yeah, the penis and the testicles, sitting there in front of her. She thinks she's going to die. And suddenly he asks her that question. And she says, he can't be anything other than 100% right. No, it could be a thing. No, because you study that, and maybe not the guy. There may be something that he picked up from her. He could be psychic, so on and so forth. But that's why it was called. It's in DC, Aberdeen, Healing Sanctuary, Aberdeen Psychic Centre and Healing Sanctuary. Today it's called Aberdeen Spiritualist Centre. At that time it's called Aberdeen Psychic Centre and Healing Sanctuary. And I got involved in that. And I studied like mad. They've got a beautiful library there. And everybody was warning me that I was reading too much. And I got involved in healing, and I became an accredited healer. And then I got, like everybody else gets, I got some miracles. So when you get them personally, it's just ridiculous. You get the miracles, and you think, well, you go over the top a little bit. You believe, I believed I was the second coming. No doubt about that. I thought, whoa, where did they get a load of me? And the next one I did nothing. I couldn't do anything for the next guy, and so on and so forth. Which arguably could mean that it's all shit. And I've got an argument that says against everyone's new stuff that's out there. My one is the thumb up the bum argument. Yeah. If you take a thumb, you stick it directly and straight line up your bum, there's a good chance you'll heal the person sitting in front of you. And the funny thing is, there is a percentile that will work with. Yeah. So we've got to know a little bit about what we're doing and how we get there. But I did my 10,000 hours. Yeah. I spent years in black rooms, darkened rooms for hours, and learning with some of the top mediums in the world. Gordon Higginson, arguably, was the best medium in the world of his day. I trained with Gordon. I desperately wanted to be a medium. I've got friends right now who will argue with you and tell you how wonderful I am, and they think I'm a great medium. They tell me that. They're completely wrong. I don't know why they keep going on about it. I am not a medium at all. But sometimes with the healing side, I get to pick things up and something happens. When I'm doing hypnosis, I don't care who knows this now. For years, I could never talk this way. But if I'm doing hypnosis now with somebody, it's not a good situation, and I'm with them, I will give them healing without telling them. I never get involved in the storyline of it now. Never. Yeah.
So this came up with our little investigating healing energies workshop yesterday with James. This idea of how many hypnotists do you see doing energy work when their clients in trance? When they're sitting there with their eyes closed, how many of us are doing passes or something like that and doing some woo-woo stuff, even though we're not woo-woo at the end of the day? It's like there's an intuition that just we start to do this stuff.
Yeah. Well, again, it's such an individual thing. It's difficult. It's really, really difficult. And that I am fairly woo-woo in lots of ways. I believe in the simulation, and yet I'm a spiritualist, and yet I'm not a practicing spiritualist. But I believe in that kind of spiritualists in that I believe we survive the grave, but not in spiritualists and how they would normally talk. I took a half step back from that some time ago, but I have no problems believing in it that it could be 100% right. It's just what's comfortable for me. Yeah.
I like the idea. I think it was the Huna of there's every possibility of a higher consciousness in the universe than us, but because we're of limited intelligence, we can't possibly comprehend what that could or could not be. So we might as well just accept it as a possibility and leave it there.
Well, you and I would have a great conversation in this. We'd know what we're talking about, but most people would not be able to follow us. You and I believe there's every chance if you spent the rest of your life just taking mushrooms, you'll be just fine.
Yeah.
It'll just work out perfectly. And every now and again, if you do the right things and you get the right settings, there'll be you in the room talking to entities. Now, you can argue whether they're real or imagined. That's not a problem. But they'll tell you stuff. And what you just said a minute ago, they'll tell you that. We'll give you this. We'll give you information that's going to blow you away. But when this is finished, you won't be able to take it out of this room with you. Although you remember it was information like that, you won't be specifically able to remember what it was. And you're sitting there smiling thinking, oh, well, yeah.
And you don't.
And you don't, yeah. And then the guy goes like that, opens his hand, makes an open-handed gesture, and you go, because all the things that maybe you suspected are completely true. Well done, you. But no, they are true. And yes, you do remember living 800 years ago, or whatever, so on and so forth, and why you're here, and so on and so. As you know, one of my favourite stories is there was a guy sitting with me in my bed, but he wasn't of this place, yeah. And he said something. I thought, oh my God, this is fantastic. And I said to him, And I smiled. And he said, "What are you smiling at?" I says, "I just can't wait for my wife to come into the room right now, and I'd love to tell her how much I love her." And he looked at me and he went, "So after all of this, you think your wife is real with you?" And I started to laugh, and he started to laugh because it's just spent 5, 6 of a trip, yeah, being shown that this is not it at all. It's okay, enjoy it, but this is not really it. We're in a wonderful simulated reality, but it's not that we're stuck in a machine and we don't exist. That concerns a lot of people. They find that problematic. I understand that. No, 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 no. You're real enough, but this is this beautiful coat that you put on for a while, and compared to infinity, as I say, you'll be here that long. So don't get too excited about it or emotional. You'll be fine.
At the very least, we're a simulation of our own mind. And like I quite often say this to clients of like in this conversation, there's 6 of us. There's the real me, the me I think I am, which isn't the real me, and the you I think you are. And you've got the real you, your version of you, and your version of me.
Yeah.
And so you never know me. So how can you judge me? And this is quite often a thing I'll use with people that are worried about judgment and things like that. Because if I'm not seeing you, if I'm just seeing a dream version of you within my mind, guided by the senses and electrical signals, then how could I judge you? I'm judging a dream version of you in my mind, not the real you.
Well, that's it. It is judging the green version. I've got this. I was talking to somebody just last night about when I was a wee boy. I used to get a stick. I used to get a good stick with a trigger on it, a branch of a tree, and this looked like a trigger. Mm-hmm. So I'm there, and I'm shooting Geronimo, mm-hmm. and I catch Geronimo. And suddenly I hear my mother shout, "Bobby, tea time!" And that's my ma shouting out of the tenement windows. And I turn out to Geronimo, who turns around to be Aki Benzi, my pal from number 48. And I say, "Aki, that's my ma. I have to go get my tea." So am I. So we'll catch you again in maybe half an hour. And he'd say, "Yeah, we'd go." And Geronimo became Aki Benzi, and Lone Star Sheriff became Little Bobby.
Yeah.
But once we got that tea over, he became Geronimo again, that bastard. And I just wanted to stop him, yeah. But in the reality of that, I'm sweating. My heart is pounding. What if I was just taken to a level up here, where in this, for example, look at me. I think I'm a lovely enough guy. I love people. I want to help people. But if you give me a chance to garrote Donald Trump, I'll take it in a heartbeat. In fact, I'll pay good money. I'll bring my own rope. Yeah. And even while I'm doing it, I'll be giggling, thinking, "Well, that's a waste of time, is it?" Because he's not Donald Trump. He's Jimmy Harrison from number 48 or whatever, you know.
This is actually like a really interesting aspect of hypnosis as well. The games that we play as children, and how the imagination ties into hypnosis and what we're doing. So like when you're playing like Geronimo with your friend and falling into that trance while you're playing, and then you break the trance and go and have your dinner and then come back and go back into that trance. These are games that we used to play as children to learn. Like all animals play to learn.
And before then, though, 6,000 years ago, we might have been Greek gods, because we're told that's what they did. They got fed up, so they got this earth plane, and they had these little people. The male god and the female god would argue about whether this guy's got to survive against the Minotaur, and every now and again we're told the gods would come down and walk with men. How about that? Yeah. It's like somebody says to me once, "Do you think there's a chance we might be gods in the making, Bob?" And I go, "Wow." But later on in the night I thought, what if we're gods here and now? We don't know that.
Yeah, well, there is the theory of that we're higher dimensional beings just playing the simulation of Earth, aren't we? In some people's story anyway. But I like this idea of play, and when we look at some of the things like hand sticks and things like that, there is this element of play there, especially like James's hand stick is a very good example of this.
He's got my favourite hand stick. I love his hand stick.
Yeah. I'll maybe get him on to have a chat about that and show people what he's doing with that. But there is this element, I think, of play in it, and it comes through in the work that you do. You're always just playing and seeing what happens. Yeah. And even in your language, let's ficker about a bit,
Yeah, absolutely. So I tell it to people down here in England that I'll say it language, because the Scottish tongue is very, very different from English. And I'll say one of our lines up there would be, "Okay, let's just say, I'm just got to ficker with you for a wee while. And the Scottish person would understand exactly what I'm saying. He's got a ficker with me. He's got a fumble with me. He's got to pull this button here and press that button here to see what it works. So, yeah, I like fickering. Although fickering can get you some heavy fines in Scotland as well. I understand that, yeah?
Yeah, watch what you ficker with. So is there anything that you would, like any advice you would give to someone that's new and starting out on this, healing path, whether it's hypnosis or, energy healing or anything like that?
Well, I tell them not to get too carried away with it because when I got involved, there was one hypnotist in Scotland. How about that? Ronald B. Harris. I'm not even sure if he's still alive now. He might be. Anybody might want to look him up right now. So Ronald B. Harris used to come up to Aberdeen, for example, every 3 months, 4 times a year, and had a hotel. He had enough money to do that, and he would get you to stop smoking for £5, which is a lot of money then.
Yep.
But half a week's wages, I suppose. Yeah. And I remember seeing him the second time I went there, and he said, "How's it been since the first time?" I said, "I haven't smoked a cigarette." He says, "So it's working?" I says, "I don't think it's working. I just can't afford any cigarettes. You took all my money last time." But here's the thing: that was then, and now I say this half tongue in cheek. It's a little bit of humour involved, but you know what? I tell people there's 3 things you can be sure of in this life now. Number 1, you'll be born. Number 2, over here you'll die, and at some point in the middle, you'll train as a hypnotherapist, you poor bastard. Yeah, it won't be fun, and all that things they tell you about when you train, you go out there, you'll make an average of this. Nearly all of that will absolutely be untrue. Nearly all of it. I mean, I said this once, so I must have meant it, but it's because the guy quoted me. I saw the recording later, but I did mean it when I says, I only know of maybe 2 other therapists that can earn a 6-figure sum in the UK right now. 100 grand is not a fortune. No, yeah, I suppose I could. One of them was, in fact, Felix Economachus. He would have been earning that, and a good bit more, in fact. But most of my colleagues today are earning a couple of £100 a week, in average, I would say. I can hear people getting angry with me. I can feel their shouts and so on and so forth. But I tell you what, because people tell me it's just me and them, we talk openly. They'll tell me, I've been doing it now for 7 years. I'm seeing 2 or 3 clients, and in some cases, I'm charging £40. So that's £6,000 a year, and that's gross. By the way, dump that shit, because lots of people are doing it for free or less than that, and they're brilliant. They're as good as me. So it's not really about that. My message is to the person that thinks they've got to come in and they're going to be that successful. So what they tend to do now is they go on a course that could be anything from 1,000 to 2 grand, and they book a room, and they take a 6 months rental out in it, with all these people hypnotizing each other. I think most of the people are pretending to be hypnotized when you go on the courses, and nobody will tell them, because nobody knows really. And again, I'm going to infuriate even more people, which has got to really please me. I love it. But the truth is, for pure somnambulism, now I'm talking about pure somnambulist, the person I can snap my fingers, and they believe this guy believes he's my wife, called Shinyata from Sweden. I can do anything. So, and that's what pure hypnosis should be. You make a complete new reality for the person. It's 5%. It's 1 in 20 of people that you'll get that with. And even then, you might not cure them. You might take away their pain for a couple of weeks, maybe they'll come back. But it's 5%. Now, while that person comes back off that course, Rowan, and let's say they're lucky enough to get 20 appointments that week. I'm laughing while I'm saying this, but let's suppose they did. They're brilliant. So they've got 4 appointments a day. If the person at 9 o'clock on the Monday, they hypnotise them, they'll think, this is it. This is fantastic. But I tell you what, I have no idea what they're going to do with the other 19, because they probably won't hypnotise them. Now, by halfway through the 3rd week, they'll be depressed. And they won't know what to do about it, because nobody has shown them how to get the people to come through the door and sit on the chair. And that's what the business is about more than anything else. It's a dreadful thing to say. Of course it's not. It's about healing. It's about knowing the stuff. But that stuff is doable. That's find outable. Nobody knows how to get people in and sit in a chair. I know some great therapists cannot see more than 5 or 6 people a week and never have been able to for that gift, for that to happen. As you know, Rowan, I am the only person that I know, and you know, because we talked about it, who in ever, in the history of all the time I've been doing this, the only trains people in the therapy room. Other people run courses, they get them there, and they wish them luck as they leave. To train with me, you had to come to my home. You had to sleep in my bed. You had to come to work with me for a couple of days and watch me work with strangers. And it wasn't easy. Strangers come. I've got to hypnotize strangers in front of you and to show you how wonderful I am. And sometimes I've got to show you how shit I am. That's great. I love that. But you've got to see, remember, that some will and some won't. So what? I'll still do something with them and I'll maybe get a result with them. In fact, there's a good chance I'll fix them if I can't hypnotize them. It's not a problem. Why? Because I'm a therapist. The hypnosis that I learned, that took me a whole 7 minutes to learn. I don't know why people go on and on about hypnosis. Once you know this stuff, you then look for the somnambulists. And if you find this, that's why stage hypnotists laugh at hypnotherapists. They go on a course to learn stage hypnosis, and if they've got the balls, they're working next week. They understand it's not about the hypnotist, it's about the somnambulist, it's about the hypnotee. And if they can get them to go like this, and off of a crowd of 100, let's say, there's definitely got to be 5 people that can't open their heart. That's a show. Yep. They've got a hypnosis show. There used to be a thing we did years ago where we had it in the contract, and you'll guarantee a minimum of 100 people. Why would we do that? Because with a minimum of 100 people, we've got 5 people for our show. Yeah. So I was working the ticket and how you work the show. It's hard now because people just don't get the opportunities to practice their hypnosis that much and to understand how to put people into it. You know this. A lot of the therapists out there do no practice of pure hypnosis in the therapy room.
No, I mean, like myself, like I trained in analytical hypnotherapy as well as you, and I was scripted when I first started, and it took me, I think, 2.5 years, maybe close to 3 years before I had someone do a hand stick and stick their hand under a table and go bright red because they actually couldn't pull their hands apart. And it was that moment that I actually was like, oh, this is real. This actually works. Because I'd been doing relaxotherapy up until that point and hadn't actually been doing hypnosis. And so, like, I suppose at the end of the day, in a nutshell, do this because you want to help people and because you enjoy it, not because you think you're going to become a multimillionaire from it.
There's that old argument again about whether to work with family or not. One of the arguments is don't work with family. They won't go in, they won't believe in you, so on and so forth. There's another argument that says they're there, they're ready to be used, and you get your practice that way. I don't have an absolute answer for that. If I had my way to do it again, I would work with anybody.
I worked with my mum. That was my first case. It was I actually learned EFT and matrix reimprinting from Carl Dawson, and I did his timeline reimprinting technique with mum with her PTSD and cleared it in like 15-20 minutes. And I tested that memory for 7 years between doing that and her passing. And she would laugh about it instead of crying. And that was one of the most powerful things that I think I can ever say I did. You know, to be able to let mum let go of that was just phenomenal. And it's so good for me as a therapist as well, knowing that this works. And then finding out after that when I trained in hypnosis that you're not supposed to hypnotize your family. And I was like,
it doesn't matter, does it? It doesn't matter. But go back to what I was just saying just a minute ago before we let it go. Just before we let that go. If everything that these new people we're asking what advice can we give them? Well, my advice to give them would be a warning. Be careful, because nearly everything you've got to be told will be untrue. It'll be a lie through misrepresentation or omittance. Let's not call them complete absolute liars, but you'll be misrepresented to, and they'll omit from telling you certain things. Let me put something to you and anybody else who's listening to this right now. Please contact me and give me an argument. I love arguments. Do it, Rowan. I love arguments. So here we go. No hypnotist in the UK right now. I mean, take a special skill, and luckily I don't have that. No hypnotist in the UK right now could possibly be earning under £100,000. If you've got that, tell me how you're managing to do that. Because based on everything that I've been told, it's impossible not to get 8 appointments a day, because we're told they're out there begging for therapists. They can't get enough of them. I know some friends of mine who are advertising this and charging people thousands to learn this skill because they're out there begging for you. And I've got other people, highly talented people, that tell me they can't get 2 a week. But if that were true, 8 a day, let's just charge them 50 quid. Is that okay? Which is only £400. But in 5 days, that's £2,000. Sorry, what have I got? Yeah. 5 4. Yeah, that's £2,000. That's 100 grand a year. That's my argument based on that. Now, most of the people will charge more than double that. So, hey, you're in 200 grand. My point I'm making is they're not out there making all this money. They're not. But the biggest problem is the bums and seats.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what the answer is to that, but dozens of people do they? Because they're selling you right now. They're actually selling you the idea. If you join, they'll get you all the appointments you can use. And I've gone to every one of them. I answered them all, and I said, "Well, what I'd like to do is I'd like to give you 3 times that amount that you're asking for. If you could just show me how first." Is that okay?
Yeah.
Show me how. I'll pay you 3 times as much, and I'll join your company and I'll advertise for you for free. And they're running away.
Yeah. I can remember us talking about this, and you like actively doing this with people for it was last year, wasn't it? Year before last.
Yeah.
So, like, it's been a pleasure talking to you as ever. But
Yeah.
I wonder if
Lovely.
there's a little hypnotic gift or something along those lines that you can give for the members of our wee school community. Thank you for watching. If you want the little gift that Bob left at the end of this, it's a wonderful little practice that I've been doing for the last few years. And it really does shift things massively. It's a beautiful little exercise to do at the end of every day. And you can get that by coming across to our school.com/hypnosis community. It's all free to join. There's loads of stuff growing in there. And obviously there's a community there for anyone that's interested in hypnosis and fascination and mesmerism and these sort of things. Also, I'd really appreciate it if you give us a like and a follow, or subscribe if you're on YouTube, and click the wee bell icon. Leave us a little comment. Let us know what you think of this. It all helps the algorithm and helps us get some good quality information out into the world. So I appreciate everything you do for us. I appreciate you being here and watching to the end. And if you can share this as well, that would be amazing. And hope to see you all soon in the community. And in the meantime, peace, love, and gratitude.